Hi, this is Ratan Gupta from Knowledge Varsity, and in this video we are going to discuss about NPV and IRR of a project and also see how this can be computed using Excel. So we'll see traditional projects wherein in the starting period there will be cash outflow and then later on there will be cash inflow. Initially there are negative cash flows and then later positive cash flows. Note that if you have any project like wherein you have negative cash flow, then you have positive cash flow, and then negative, these are your non-traditional cash flows, and there Excel might create problem until unless you pitch in and you provide some hint to the Excel. So in this video our scope is only the traditional projects, so negative cash flow in the starting and positive cash flows later, right? So let's see what is NPV of a project. NPV of a project is known as net present value. That is, it is the present value of all the inflows as well as the outflows. So it is the present value. So to compute the present value, that means we need to have a required rate of return. So this usually you will be deciding based on your riskiness of the project. So in Excel, let's say suppose we know our required rate of return, we will be able to compute the NPV. So let's see the formula of NPV in Excel. So if I see this NPV, see this, they are saying NPV, here you have to specify what is the rate, and here you have value 1, value 2, etc. Please note that value 1 this is compulsory, and value 2 etc. they are optional because they are in square bracket. So at least you need to provide one cash flow for which you want to compute the NPV. Let's say assuming that for we have this project, note that this is a traditional project, you have negative cash flow and then all these cash flows are positive. And let's say suppose our required rate of return is, let's say, 10% per annum, right? So what we'll do is we'll compute NPV. First we have to put the rate, okay, and then we put comma. Note that to put the values, what you can do is you can drag and you can put the values. Now the way NPV in Excel is constructed, okay, note that even though I have given you the cash flows of period 0, Excel does not take these values 0, 1, 2, 3. Excel will take the values that are the dollar, the cash flow value, right? Now by default the Excel assumes that the first value that you are giving, it is coming at the end of the year or at the end of the period. So let's say your cash flows are, typical cash flows are like this: CF0 initial cash outflow negative, and then CF01, CF02, etc. right? So since NPV assumes that the first cash flow is at the end, right? So do not put this cash flow in the NPV formula. If you put, it will be wrong. So the first cash flow that you will have is the period 1 cash flow. So you start with the period 1 cash flow. So what we'll do is, so we'll put the values we'll put over here. This is NPV of all these cash flows, okay, but this is not the correct NPV that we want. So what is your NPV? NPV is the PV of inflow minus the PV of outflow, assuming that the sign, if it is negative already, so it should be plus, okay? So what we have to do is we have to, from here we have to subtract this 132,000 to get the NPV. So your NPV will be from this, you here I should add it because it is already minus, so my NPV is 149. In case of NPV, you require, one is required rate, okay, and then the cash flows. Always ensure that the formula should have cash flows which is starting from the first period from today, whatever is the first cash flow at the end of the period, and you start from there. Do not include the cash flow that are going to happen today. So that is the important point in NPV calculation. Next, let's see what is IRR. IRR is called as the internal rate of return, okay. IRR is that rate which will make the NPV equal to 0. So IRR rate will make NPV equal to 0. One of the thing about the IRR is we assume that all the cash flows which are coming, they get reinvested at the IRR rate. So that's why you find that NPV will be equal to 0. Now Excel has a beautiful function to compute the IRR, and that is equal to IRR. This is called as IRR, right? So here what you can do is you can put the values and then you can guess it. Note that this guess will be useful when you have non-traditional cash flows. Okay, so then you can put and guess and you can get the values. But since our scope is only the traditional cash flows, this guess is not required. So see this, it's a optional, so we will not use the guess. So now how this IRR is different from NPV? This IRR is different from NPV uses because in IRR we take all the cash flows. Please note that in NPV we had excluded the first t equal to 0 cash flows. In IRR we should not exclude that, we should include all the cash flows from t equal to 0 till end. Right? So here I will have values will be equal to all the values I will be, just I will select and I will be. So see this IRR comes as 37.8. So this is your NPV and this is your IRR. IRR comes as 37.820. That means at this IRR, at this required rate of return, your NPV will be equal to 0. Right? So just to make sure that our IRR is correct, what I will do is I will change this required rate of return. See, I will make this required rate of return equal to this IRR and see what will happen to NPV. See, this NPV has become 0. IRR is that required rate of return which will make the NPV equal to 0. If you put any required rate of return which is more than IRR, let's say if you put 38 more than IRR, NPV will be negative. If you put less than IRR, 37%, let's say, NPV will be positive. So at IRR your NPV is going to be exactly 0.